The fires of war. That's what the humans call it. Odd. I had always thought of war as a chilling ordeal. An act of entropy. Cold bodies and dead stars. But I always marveled at how individual moments in a war can appear so lively. The vaunted guard machines march forth. Their cannons fired, their missiles screamed, and their void shields crackled. Humans seem to put a great deal of stock in size. It bolsters the morale to see a titan, like a creature conjured up from some long-forgotten myth. A symbol of strength. The humans that remain are all cowards. Each and every one of them either fled a previous battle, or they never left the shelter of this last bastion. But oh, how their bravery returned for this glorious last stand. Their leader even joined them with much pomp and ceremony in his mighty machine of war. The theatrics of this last stand are fascinating. I am watching the humans lie to themselves so that they can fight, so they will not succumb to despair. And so it goes. The flashes, the explosions, the destruction. Certainly my units will suffer their own losses, but most of them will be teleported back to my tomb world. I suppose there are constructs that will need to be replaced. I have indeed spent time and resources on this planet. And perhaps it is in the interests of these primitives to delay me for as long as possible. But for these miserable ones, their lives are over, and they will never see any benefit to their resistance. Their reward is only cold oblivion. One more speck of light to be snuffed out of this universe.
As Meritneith observed the final Imperial defense. Deep beneath the service of Naucratis, Mechanicus adepts chanted their canticles and awakened ancient machine spirit after ancient machine spirit, passing through forgotten vaults and hallways of a time immemorial. If these servants of the Omnissiah had not abandoned the weakness of flesh long ago, they would have wept. Deep within these long forbidden hallways were ancient technologies and mysteries that they and their magos could have studied for decades, centuries even. But there was no purpose to its preservation now. Why preserve dangerous technology only for it to fall into the hands of these tech heresies, these ancient men of metal? These abominable intelligences. No, it was better for the machine spirit to perish than for it to fall into the corrupting hands of these Xenos. And so the preparations were made. The servants of the Omnissiah did not know how the battle fared on the surface, only that they needed to be methodical and perfect in their every thought, action, and ritual, so that the righteous sword of the machine god would be brought down on the unsuspecting heads of the enemies of humanity.
It was strange to watch the largest of their god machines fall. An object considered so ancient, holy, and venerable. In these glorious last stands, all too often The humans have been known to foolishly sacrifice themselves, overloading their primitive shield generators in an attempt to destroy their enemies along with themselves. But this time, once its shields sputtered and succumbed to our fire, I commanded our Gauss annihilators to target the power generators of the Imperator Titan. It cannot very well destroy itself and its enemies in a triumphant explosion if the reactive elements in the core have simply been destroyed at the molecular level. What was once a mighty walking fortress, blazing with munitions and power, now hung limp in the darkness of the night, its light unceremoniously extinguished from the galaxy. If I could breathe, I would have inhaled deeply to taste the night air saturated with the panic and despair of the Citadel's defenders, with their god machine no longer giving them courage. They broke and ran. The extermination began. My men walked forward, as slow and inevitable as time itself. Bring me their commander, if he is still alive. To his credit, the old man stood his ground. He even rallied a few of the other humans to die in a manner that they might have imagined to be honorable. But his men were vaporized, including a particularly young-looking human whose uniform did not match the other guardsmen. And then the mighty Bane blade was peeled open like an exotic fruit by the blades of my lieutenants. He tried to fight us with a primitive, handheld energy weapon. He was quickly disarmed and subdued. As he was thrown at my feet, he remained defiant.
You'll get nothing from this planet. Everything has been destroyed. Every weapon, every valuable thing has been annihilated to keep it from falling into your hands. Whatever you sought here, you will not find it.
And why, when I have any interest in any of your little toys? The assumption that I am interested in anything wrought by your primitive hands is laughable.
Then if you sought to bleed our strength, then know that this planet is but a drop of the power of the Imperium, of the Guard. You have not injured the strength of the Emperor with this campaign.
Your Imperium and your Emperor are of no concern of mine. This planet once belonged to me, and now it does so again. It completes my dynastic holdings of the planets that still exist, and I have recovered everything that was once mine. Though I must admit, I wish to hold this planet for particular sentimental reasons, if you can believe that, human.
Are you going to talk me to death, abomination? End me, and end this miserable conversation.
I will give you the death you so crave. But the true reason that I wish to retake this planet is simply because I had a particularly pleasant stroll through the forests of this place with my beloved. When the flora and fauna have recovered from the mess you've made, perhaps we shall return and walk through paths not so different from those we walked millions of years before.
Lord General Achilleus grinned bitterly. And it was in that exact moment, as the Necron gloried in her victory, that a slight tremor shook the earth the Pharaon stood upon, as she had to steady herself and gazed from side to side in surprise. The general's bleak grin widened as he realized what was happening.
Congratulations on your victory, Xeno scum. The planet itself rejects your presence. You can take your walk in the park straight to hell, and I'll be waiting there for you, Emperor willing.
No man do they call me, my mother and my father, and all my comrades as well. Thank you all for listening to the latest episode of The Price of Eternity. If you enjoyed what you heard, please leave a like and a comment so that you too can conduct planet-spanning wars out of spite. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so in order to hear more stories about grumpy old robots arguing with grumpy old men. If you would like to support me, there are links to my Patreon, my PayPal, and my Teespring down below. And if you have absolutely no idea what's going on, there is a link to the Price of Eternity playlist, which should be appearing on screen right now. Thank you all once again for listening. No Man out.